Hey, welcome back to TML Weekly, Season 2, Episode 23. As you can see, we're down our third guy tonight, Nolan. A sad day in the TML world here. Nolan lost his grandpa Wayne on Thursday. Real tough time for his family. I knew Wayne years and years ago. Great guy. So we just want, thoughts and prayers out to, his lovely wife, Denise, daughters, Tracy and Jennifer, son-in-law, Greg, and of course the grandkids who Wayne loved dearly, Nolan and our co-host and Adam and Love. So, we're thinking about all you guys out there and, be strong and rest easy, Wayne. So moving on to the Leafs, we could look at it glass half full, which I usually do, and glass half empty, which you usually do. And I'm sure that we're going to get into that. But coming out of the trade deadline, obviously, real good pieces came in. It takes a little while to learn the system, and I heard some criticism of both Lawton and Carlo on the different chat groups. I thought they've been fine. They're both pros. These are two players that are going to help this team and definitely make this team better. I like the effort last night. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, you get a new group, people are nervous, expectations are up. It's no secret that, everybody knows you need to win that division to get the matchup that you want, hopefully. So, a lot of pressure, but we'll see how they bounce back tomorrow. I love the schedule here because you got Colorado again right after the deadline. You had them great hockey game. Toronto blew the lead, but I thought it was a real good playoff style atmosphere, and they responded. I expect more of the same tomorrow night. What do you think? You're probably ready to start cheering for the Seattle Kraken or the Utah Mammoths or the.
I mean, if we're being honest,
you're a UNLV fan, okay? Who likes UNLV,
dude? I am. If nothing else, I'm loyal. I'm loyal. Oh. It was that was a painful Mountain West tournament, let me tell you. But listen, there's a lot to unpack there, and I think what I take the most umbrage with the Maple Leafs right now is, and you said it about the game last night. You said you loved the effort last night. And I think that is, for me, at least, in watching us coming out of the Four Nations, that was the one thing that seemed to me to be missing the most on a regular basis. I've really, really struggled watching this team this past week. And I've been on the captain positivity train almost all year. And now we've all said all year long, wait till the deadline. This team's going to be markedly different. We're going to make lots of moves. There's going to be lots of moving pieces up and down and all around. I mean, really, we got Scott Lawton. Okay, maybe he's going to be that guy that we need. I don't think that anybody in Leaf Nation has been blown away by what they've seen from Scott Lawton so far. Brendan Carlo, I am so less concerned with. I have no concerns with where he is. He came from Boston. He understands what playoff hockey is and how to play. And so I'm putting to the side. What has killed this team every year in the playoffs is the inability to score when the ice shrinks. I saw us play 5 teams. They were very, very hard, tight checking games against very good teams, season playoff teams. And we just didn't look good. My biggest concern, and I'm not going to lie, is the way we showed up in that Florida game. That Florida game, let's be honest. We all understand that we got to catch Florida. We don't want Tampa, or we don't want Florida in the first round.
No.
Right? We don't want that. There's nothing that I saw in that game against Florida that said the Leafs gave 2 shits about where they were in the standings, what was going on. They were without Ekblad. They were without what's his name, the American
Chucky and Marshy.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like they didn't even have their guys in the lineup, and they ran all over us. We looked disinterested. And again, I've been very pro Craig Berube all year. I haven't said one negative thing about him all season. This is gonna be the very first time. He said from the get-go he was going to hold his players accountable for the performance on the ice. And I heard him talk after that game. There was no accountability at all.
You don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
I'm just telling you. John, I'm only telling you what
accountability isn't in the media. Okay. You know what?
According to him, in his press conference, everything was fine.
But a good coach will do that. And behind closed doors, it's a different, you don't want to show. I don't like this new generation of coaches getting in front of a microphone and calling out players. You know what? That's what you do behind closed doors, right? That's how you build a team. I'm fine with it. I'm quite positive Craig Berube's message to the players wasn't the same as it was.
I hope not.
And who cares? Who cares what we think? At the end of the day, doesn't matter. It matters what effort and they're building towards it. One thing that we have to mention that and I don't know if it's a coincidence, that they bring in a guy like Lott and then all of a sudden Max Domi turns into the player
his deal.
We've been waiting for him to be, right? Like he playing heavy, that hit,
listen, full marks to Domi on that. And then answered the bell afterwards too.
And he's starting to score. He's a type of player that I believe if surrounded by the right other players, when it gets tough and the rink shrinks, as you put it, I think Max Domi is going to be an X factor. If he's insulated and he's got to be put in the right situations. But I think he's been outstanding. I think he's been heavy on pucks. He looks like the guy that we've been kind of waiting for the scoring to come. He's been fine. I've said it all year. Go back and pull the tape. I think he's been fine. There is another level to his game, and hopefully, this is a sign of what's to come here. You know what? This roster is so deep, and the options that are in front of Coach Berube going into the last 15 games or so in the stretch, and jockeying for a position or a matchup or whatever it is you want to call it. A lot of stuff. I don't think you're going to see that Matthews, Marner, Nyes ever broke up until one of them leaves a hockey club, because those three are a problem. I don't care who your defensive pairing is that's on against them. When they're moving their feet and they're getting in their big bodies, I'm talking more about Matthews and Nyes on the boards, and then Marner's skill. I mean, they're when they're going like that. And Nyes is getting better every night.
Okay, so listen, I think we're in absolute agreement that this is probably the most complete goaltender to forward out lineup that they've had in the Matthews era. I think that's fair to say.
I think it's the best team they've had since '93.
Yeah, I mean that 03 team with Sundin and Tucker, where they went to the conference final against Carolina, was pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm talking. They didn't have arguably 3 top 10 players in the world at that time. If you think about who was in the league at that time, Sundin would have been there, right?
Yeah, he would have been the only one.
Right, when you drop off. But now, I was trying to explain it to somebody the other night. Berube could. This lineup's deep enough. Their bottom 6 is skilled enough. If you go through that bottom 6, okay, guy for guy, every one of them has had reps and has had, minimal success, but, success playing in the top 6, playing against tougher matchups. They've, Yarn Croak has been up with Matthews and Marner. Domi's been up with Matthews and Marner.
The Pope's been up. Yeah. Everybody's been up. Right? That's fair.
So you could literally, with this group, right, because everything's about matchups when you get into the crunch time. You could literally, honestly, split it up like old school and have 4 lines, and you'd have a top 15 player in the National Hockey League on every line. And if you found the right combination, I don't know how. That's what I would do on the road, right? I would go into it and I'd say, okay, hey, Mitch, you're playing with this guy, and just really mess with a guy like Maurice or Cooper, because they're good coaches. They're going to get the matchup that they want, right?
I mean, listen, I'm going to say something that's what I like to call an uncomfortable truth. Okay.
So stupid.
Clearly.
Okay.
If our top 4 players don't show up, right, it doesn't matter, John.
But it doesn't matter whether they're on one line or all 4 lines.
No, that's the point I'm making. That is the point I'm making.
100%.
Right?
No, that's any sport. That's any sport, man.
But you'll recall. Any sport. Listen, you'll recall last year when we did our playoff preview show, I said the most important player in the entire playoffs for the Maple Leafs is Mitch Marner. He's the most important 1, 2, and 3 player that we have. Yeah. If Mitch Marner is going, I'm good. The problem is the same problem that we've seen for the duration of his time here in the playoffs. It's not a great story to tell. And my concern for what I've seen coming out of this break with Mitch Marner, these have arguably been his 5 worst games of the season against, the arguably 5 big teams that are all going to be making maybe not Utah making a big playoff run, but everybody else is on point. That game, like did you watch the Florida game? I didn't notice Mitch Marner the entire game. Didn't notice him. He was invisible. And I thought, like, man, we're trying to chase down first place against a divisional opponent in a not a must-win game, but a pretty close to a must-win game. And Jesus, Mitch, show up.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, and so that's my concern here.
Here's what we have on our side here as a Leaf fan base or team or whatever you want to call it. Mitch Marner is playing for a deal. So Mitch Marner going to the Stanley Cup final and leading his team and being in the top couple scorers in the whole playoffs is a $2 or $3 million difference in his AAV. And I hate to say it, but hopefully that is going to motivate him, and it might price him right out of Toronto, but that's okay, right? That's okay if they win a cup or get I'm not worried about that. I'm really not. I think he's going to, you got to trust in the coach. You got to trust that these guys are grown men and they know how much is at stake. You see it on their face when they talk about, past postseason failures and things like that.
But so, like, are you telling me that after that Florida game, you didn't sit there in the chair and go, uh-oh, I don't feel great right now?
Yeah. Well, no, right? You know what? I get concerned shift for shift. Right? Like I see a great shift and they're pinned. And then it's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? They're waving at pucks and doing flybys and not finishing.
I know.
So it's but that's just human nature, right? You're not going to be perfect all the time. The key is you got to peak here in about 3 weeks, right? Now you've got to be ready. Hey,
listen, Johnny, we are all going to take. You know what? There is not a Leaf fan watching tonight or paying 20% more next season in season's tickets costs that would rather have us struggle now and figure it out in time for game 1. Everybody's on board with that. You know what? It was funny. I was talking to my Uncle Pete tonight, and he said to me, he was like, if you watch Florida, even when they lose, you never go, man, they look like they mailed that one in. Even when they lose. Boston in years past, when Boston would lose, they might lose 5-2, but man, they were hitting everything that moved. They were cycling the puck well. They were doing all the right things, just didn't get the bounces. And so very few times, and it's funny that I started to think about it, and I was kind of going back and thinking about, the really, really good teams recently. Yeah. And you're never questioning whether or not they're going 100%. You're never questioning it. And I find, I watched that Florida game and I went, I still feel like I'm kind of questioning it. And so if you would have talked to me just before we went on the Four Nations thing, I thought, man, we could win the cup. This is before Carlo. I thought we're good enough. If everybody's clicking.
Oh, they still are, right?
But I'm just saying, I will say I'm a little bit further down now than I was going into the break. I want to see the effort. I just try.
You know what I want to see? You know what I want to see, honestly? Health. If you go back to last year, right? They losing 7 to Boston, and they didn't have one of their 3 best players or 2 of their 3 best players in multiple games, right? And went to game 7 with Boston.
Or a goalie.
Right? So I want to see health. I want to see for the next 15 games, I don't give a shit what the matchup is. If it's going to be Florida, okay.
I mean, we're going to have to beat one of them anyways to win.
Right. I would sacrifice health. So if Matthews needs a game or 2 off to rest something, that's what I want to see is health. I want to make sure these guys are healthy and ready to go. And if you got to sit a couple guys down the stretch and compromise, obviously you don't want to disrespect the league or whatever if it's a meaningful game, but I would limit ice.
And we're not going the NBA here.
At this point, decide who the hell is going to be your number 1. And if they've got 15 left, he needs to play 10 of them. So decide today who's your guy, and give him 2 and the other guy 1. 2 and 1.
Who's your guy?
What's that?
Who's your guy?
I think it's Stolarz.
Okay, I agree.
But you know what? If you give him 10, what do they got? 15 left? 16?
16, I think. 16.
Yeah. So if you give Stolarz 10 and Wool 6 and Wool's better, then it's him. Right? But you got to get the guy used to playing.
If he gets lit up in game 1, you have no problem.
Neither one of these guys have gone on a run, right? When they played every second night they haven't done it since junior, these kids. Yeah. And in junior they were playing, you're playing, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're playing 2 of the 3, right? Or college or wherever they kind of. Wolf played college, didn't he? Somewhere. So he's playing on weekends too. Yeah. So, I want health, and I want to define who that guy is that you're going to go to, and who's a guy. Who's the guy? Who is it? And you know what? Start to rotate it based on that, right? Play that guy in a back-to-back and see how he handles that, right?
Well, and if we're being fair, we've done that with Wall this year, and we know he can handle it.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's see if
Stolarz was out. When Stolarz was out, Wall took the ball, and he ran pretty good with it. Now, both of them have kind of come back to earth a little bit, which is to be expected. But
the game's tougher now. The game's tougher now than it was, and especially there's not a night off right now. There's almost every team in the league has a shot. There's about 5-6 teams that are done. Somebody wins.
Way to go, Kyle Dubas.
You win 12 of your last 15. Doesn't matter where you are, you're in, right? Other than San Jose and
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we agree on Stolarz, I don't think either of us would be angry if Wall showed up and played, though. I think that's being fair.
Nope.
So here's the big question. I mean, and this is the one that I've seen the most recently is, what do we really where do we think Matthews really is? I mean, don't get me wrong. He scored a couple nice goals the other night against Calgary, which is great to see. One of them was a great shot, like a patented Matthews shot that we haven't seen very much of. Where do you think he is on the health chart? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm saying maybe he's like a 70 to 75% guy right now.
No, I think he's healthier than that. I just think, honestly, I think he's changed his game slightly. I think, and I said this last week or the week before. I look holistically at the game, and some of the plays that he's made particularly when they're in the lead. Right, I've seen him do some things where I think the older Matthews, who wasn't the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, might shoot that puck. Now he's making
around the boards.
Yeah,
comes out,
now he's making sure
away.
it's deep. He's getting his body in positions in the ozone, not just to score goals, but to keep the puck low, right? To keep the
cycle going.
The old adage is they're not going to score on us from their end, right?
Yeah,
so you cycle the puck. So that time that he might have tried to snipe one, he's making a better play. So I think he's sacrificing a little bit. I don't think he's as I mean, I'm not saying he's 100%, but I don't think he's too bad off.
Listen, and the only reason that I tend to disagree with that, and Lord knows I have no inside knowledge, is I don't know a player in modern times who has disappeared to Europe for a significant stretch of time and seen a drop off in production the way we've seen from him.
I don't think the drop off. I mean, it's a drop off, but like I said, if you watch the hockey game, he's not hurting his team. He's not missing those shots that went in last year. He was a different player.
All I'm saying to you is
a different system too, right? There's more responsibility.
All of that. Listen.
Do I think he's still a 55, 60 goal scorer? Yes. So yeah, if he's, I don't. The Germany thing is either a back or something, maybe with that old wrist injury. I don't know. But you know what? That's the norm now. Guys are. We just don't know.
Who's the other person? Who is the other person in the middle of the season who has left the team, flown to Europe for a week and disappeared, and then come back? Cite the other person.
Sure, there's been tons of them. They just don't play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Who?
Somebody at the airport probably.
I'm just saying, if it's commonplace, it's happening on a regular basis. I follow the league pretty closely. I don't know anybody else that's had this happen.
I'm just saying that those resources are out there now that have never been, and a flight to Germany is like a flight to LA. So if you can see a better doctor over there, absolutely. He won't be the first, and he won't be the last.
I mean, sure, I guess. I just don't know of it happening anywhere else. So
I think if it was anything that there was a risk of hurting worse, he wouldn't be playing.
He wouldn't be playing. I understand. So, but that's my point, though. I'm not saying. I'm saying that I think he's like, this is where he is. I don't see Austin Matthews getting dramatically better between now and the start of the playoffs. I think what you see with Matthews right now for this year is where it's going to be.
I'm okay with that. I think he's playing really well.
Listen, if he's playing really well, I agree. But listen, what has harmed this team in the playoffs for the duration of their time here? Not scoring.
Health, bad penalties,
and not scoring goals.
Lack of offense, right?
Not scoring goals.
Yeah.
So that's really
but all those other things come into it, right? What did Willie and Austin miss five between them? They missed 5 of the 7 games last year, right? You're talking 2 difference makers, so that comes into it. We talked about the goaltending. What about the penalties that Kadri took back-to-back years, right?
Well, let's not get back into the Kadri.
Corey Perry kicking JT in the face in Game 1 of the Montreal series, right? So. You got to be a little lucky. I'm telling you, the biggest thing that I'm concerned about going in is, and it's not Matthews, it's team health. Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to shock everybody. The biggest thing that I'm concerned about right now is number 16. This whole team is going to go absolutely as far as number 16 is going to take us. 100%, John. I believe it to my core.
I mean, he's been driving the bus all year, so he just got to keep his foot on the gas. And what would be a great story is if he does his job and Matthews does his, and the goaltending's good, and they stay healthy and they can make a run.
Everything locks in. We're fine
and win it. Yeah. I think he signs pretty quickly in Toronto because this group is pretty special. So, and if he doesn't and he walks, okay.
So here's a question.
Here's a question cap room to go get, a free agent. There are free agents out there.
So here's the question that Kara asked me. If you're Mitch Marner, right?
Yeah.
And the Leafs came to you and said, "We want you to waive." Does that piss him off? Or does that say to him, "Listen, we really wanted to sign you. We've tried to sign you. You said you didn't want to sign. You're leaving us no option. We'd rather you sign, but if you're not going to, like."
I don't think it pisses them off. I think it gives them some respect for Treliving, because a lot of GMs, Dubas, would never do that.
Ever. I agree.
So Treliving does that, and he would have a conversation like you and I are having right now with Darren Ferris, who's his representation, and he'd say, "Hey, you know what? Here's another offer. Like, what do you got? You don't want to, I've got a deal in place for Mitch to go to Carolina for Mikko Rantanen. What's the number we can agree to right now?" And then Darren comes back and says, "Hey, with all due respect, as per my client's CBA, we have every right. Mitchell wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. He wants to win with this group. Our intent, and this is from what I understand the conversation. The intent is for them to sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere now, and we'll talk about it at the end of the season. And that's his prerogative. That's what the bargaining agreement, gives, and good for him. And I like that he didn't wait. I like that he said, "F you. No, I want to be here, and I want to win here," right? Because he could have said, "You know what? They don't want me. Okay, I'll go to Carolina and win a cup with them," because that's a good hockey club down there. Right, with all the crazy stuff that's going on around them, it's still a good hockey club.
They weakened themselves for sure.
I think they beat Washington in a 7-game series, and that's a matchup that we're looking at. I think that team beats Washington in a 7-game series.
Wow, I don't know. Logan Thompson's been pretty great all year.
Yeah, but Carolina's their structure, and they're not going to give up a lot.
No, and Brendan Moore's a great coach, and he plays that way. Okay, so listen, we're gonna get out of here.
Any who do you have? So we got Carolina or Colorado tomorrow.
We got the Rangers, I think. Hold on, I'm just looking. Colorado, the Rangers, and then Nashville on Saturday.
Nashville always, Nashville reminds me of they've always been that team that can beat anybody any night or lose to anybody any night, right? But they'll play hard. They'll come in and So I'm gonna say I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are gonna shut you up, and I'm gonna say 6 points, and I'm gonna say 6 easy points. I don't think one of those 3 games will be. If you're a betting person, I would bet on Toronto to win by over 1.5 in all 3 of those games. So I think they win those games by 2 goals.
Okay.
Minimum.
All right. So I'm going to take 4 out of 6. But again, if we get all 6, great. Listen, I just want us. I want us showing up. And I don't want to be talking next week about, man, what are we doing with the effort? That's really what I want to see here. I just want to see effort every night, because I think if we put out the effort with the talent we have, we should be fine. We should be fine. So that's where we're going to go here. Hopefully we'll have Nolan back next week. Nolan, we're thinking about you, buddy, you and your family. And special shout outs to our sponsors here, Bjorn Hockey, Don Cherry Sports Grill. And we will see everybody next week. Go Leafs, go.
See you, folks.